Welcome back to the Midlands Rugby Podcast. Phil, how you doing?
Oh, I'm very well. Long time no see with
It
you.
has been. We've gone to a fortnightly, and it feels a bit weird. I think it's even harder to plan when you're not on it every week. So
Well, it
that
just
might,
suddenly appears, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. So the fortnightly might not last much longer after Christmas. We might have to go back for weeklies just to just to make sure we're there. Oh, you've got squash tonight.
Yeah, I've gone for the squash. I've just finished a session actually, Tom.
Oh,
So a
wow, well done.
little bit dry in the mouth.
I'm a little bit dry in the mouth. I've just finished a mixed milk chow mein. Uh, and the salt within that chow mein has caused me to have a dry mouth. Um, so, how have you been rugby wise? We're obviously coming up to the Christmas break, getting ready to put the feet up for a few days. Looking forward to a long trip just before Christmas, I imagine.
Yeah, that's just what you want. So we're at the turning point. We've played 11 out of our 22 games.
Halfway gone, if my maths is correct.
Yeah, that would be half.
I'm not the numbers guy here.
We neither am I. We are doing all right. I mean, it's difficult. We're in a very tough league. Um, but we're hanging in there, and the lads are doing well, so can't really complain. I'm enjoying it still. I think most of the lads are enjoying it still. We've had some good games. I think Saturday's game was actually quite a good game, but it's another one that maybe we could have got something out of when we came away with nothing in the end. So we'll keep going. Another 11 games to go. 3 games till Christmas, and as you mentioned, a nice short trip up to Alnwick on the 17th of December.
Exactly, and because we're the Midlands Rugby Pod, we won't be covering it, so
No,
it'll be good. So, it'll
I'll
be
barely
good.
be covering it either, mate.
Oh, I don't know. 17th. I am. I know I've not played first team, and I'd love to play first team, but I will be back from injury on the 10th. Please do not get me anywhere near that squad on the 17th. I will. I will be unavailable. Um, but obviously, as clubs winding down for Christmas, last 2 weekends before, there's been a sad loss in rugby over the last week, and it's that kind of melancholy part of the year where it's dark at 9:30 in the morning and still darker when you finish work at 4:30. But I'm sure everyone that listens is very much aware that the rugby hero and favourite of many people, Donny Weir, passed away just a few days ago. And I know we have spoken to people who knew him personally. So for those, we are obviously thinking about you. Just for someone who only knew him probably in his later stage of his career, um, he had a personality on the pitch and off the pitch. I don't really have much memory of any of his game time because I'm probably slightly too young to remember that far back. But he was uh, he was a favourite around most, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's a another Scottish captain who has just embraced the sport to the highest and nth degree. So it's a great loss, and to lose him at still quite a young age to a horrific disease is not a nice thing. I think what he's done in the past, I'd say it's best part of 10 years, in the money he's raised and the awareness he's raised, is fantastic, and hopefully that's sort of carried on going forward. But yeah, sad loss, but I'm sure he'll be remembered for the right reasons.
Yeah, definitely a sad day for rugby, but inspired many to continue raising money for that and also to stay in the sport as well. So, yeah, good guy, good guy. Um, so we've just come off the back of an autumn international series. Um, there's obviously lots of rugby been played, but the question on everyone's lips, and finally the RFU's lips, is Eddie Jones the right man for the job? Is he? Do you want me to answer that or not?
You start, and I'll back you up. I think.
Do you know what I used to stick by him quite a lot. I used to quite like him. I always used to think you can't get a team to a World Cup final, and yeah, we lost, but we beat New Zealand in the semi, and you can't turn into a bad manager overnight or bad coach overnight. But I think the ideas have run out. The kicking game, if we're going for it, we need players that can kick properly. We need a line chase, which I know as Pavia's players, we may not be able to talk too much about a decent line kick chase on it. But yeah, it seems to me that Eddie Jones, we can say thank you very much for all you've done. Thank you for giving us some delight, but it's probably time to step to the side to let someone else in.
Yeah, I think the worrying part of it is he's kind of ebbed and flowed, and he seems to essentially just go against what the media say.
Yeah.
And the media, I'm not praising the media here. I don't think the media are particularly good with any sport, never mind rugby. But the media just call it as it is in the most part. They see a performance as lackluster and boring and crap to watch, and we'll just get on his back. But he will almost stubbornly do exactly the same again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not working. The New Zealand game, yeah, we've come back and drawn it. He's then got them, or supposedly got them to kick the ball off when it's a draw. We've just scored 3 tries in 8 minutes, and the boys are absolutely flying. I mean, what are you doing? Like,
it's not what you pay 250 quid to go sit in Twickenham and see happen. I'd be royally pissed off. I think if I paid the cash to go and see a game against New Zealand at Twickenham and see Smith turn with no pressure, and it's not even like he was. If we'd been defending and that New Zealand had not let us past our own 22, yeah, get rid of it. Just get rid of it. There, the pressure's on. But he had a good 5-6 yards of space to run into, and someone who is like Marcus Smith, who expects to kind of think attack more than anything else. And it's interesting. I've seen some other podcasts do a bit of comparison between Eddie and Gareth Southgate in the last week or two, because obviously we scored 6 against Iran. We're the most attacking team in the World Cup. Henderson plays a stalwart who's regarded to be quite boring in the middle. We then don't score, we're then boring and negative, and then we go and score a hell of a lot of points and a hell of a lot of goals, and then we're obviously an attacking team again. I think Eddie has been unfairly treated at points for certain selections, but looking at certain selections now, it's very much a case of what you're looking at. For example, I never particularly wanted him to be picked in the international team, because I did think it was a bit of a step for him, but Sam Simmons, putting him on a flank is just never going to work. He's not a flanker by any means. Johnny Hill in the row, if you've got a target man, you've got a target man, but you've got far better line-out noises than him. And so, yeah, I think it's time to go. I think it might have shifted some of the pressure off Farrell, which has been somewhat nice. I think he's been slightly more attacking than probably previously. But yeah, I think it's just gonna be interesting to see who comes in. We've got a lot of spunkers are coming through now, and they look fucking sick, some of them. So
I think it's time for change. I mean, I'm just looking here. So there's sources that he'll receive an 800 grand payout if he's sacked as the RFU boss. So if I was Eddie Jones, I'd be doing my best to get sacked.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's like, do you know what? I'm bored.
Yeah,
mate, get me out of here.
I'm sick of the media.
Sick of the media.
Take 800 grand and go back to Australia.
Exactly. He could have been in the jungle with Tyndall and Hancock.
He can be in the jungle whenever he wants if he's.
Well, he could be. Yeah. Knowing his luck, he'd be back in Wales in the castle. But talking about the Welsh, slightly tedious podcasty link, but you were saying before this, Gats is one of the faves.
Gats has been lined up for the England job. There's been talk of Ronan O'Gara.
Would be fun.
So it's just really good that we can really rely on that English coaching setup that we've put in place in the Premiership. So, yeah,
there is always John T. Green.
Yeah, probably Irish.
No, just a knob.
But speaking of Wales, that's another international team that's struggling
massively.
You know,
Massive.
the Georgia game is in a way an upset for Wales, but also quite another sort of argument towards why are Georgia not included in the Six Nations tournament. Italy have beaten Australia. Was it a great Australia team? No, not really.
No.
But Italy have still beaten Australia. Wales have lost to Georgia. You've got Romania and Spain and Portugal qualifying for the World Cup.
Mm.
Um, we've
Portugal,
got
not
to,
just on Portugal, not just qualifying, beating USA, who have become a lot more of an established rugby nation
yeah,
recently as well, with players like AJ McGinty and people like that. They're not USA that we remember. So, I think you're right that there's a big shout that the tier two nations in Europe could be starting to nip at the heels a little bit. I think.
yeah. I think it's just the right time. Is it a case of some people are talking about disbanding the Six Nations and kind of making like a 10-team competition, which would be split into two pools of five,
Right.
and then top plays. So you'd play your 4 games over 5 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sixth week, top would play top, second would play second, and so on and
Oh,
so
right.
forth.
Okay.
That was kind of a one idea I've read. Um, but something needs to happen, even if it's just one promotion spot. Someone said to me the other day it would like bankrupt. If Scotland got relegated one year, it'd like bankrupt them. But you know, Georgia, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Romania, they all are successful teams in their own right. And I think if you got Scotland dropping down, or Italy dropping down, and the tourists go out and watch their team in a new country, the
Mm.
opportunity to go to like Georgia
Mate,
or
I'd do
whatever,
an iPod from Georgia.
yeah, it'd be amazing for the England fans, for the Irish fans to go somewhere new. And I've done the Rome thing, and it is amazing to watch rugby in Italy, and it's a real different atmosphere. Um, but to be able to do it in some other countries would be great for everyone, I think. And
100%.
maybe IRB or European rugby needs to look at how we fund it.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't affect most of the top tier nations.
No, and I honestly I don't think it would be an issue it'd be a struggle to find funding, even through sponsorship. I mean, Amazon are starting to find rugby, and we got to remember we are walking into probably one of the most open World Cups we've had in a long time, and that's just on the doorstep. That's in Europe, so I think there might be a lot of attention on rugby within Europe, and if we can then expand it outside of the six tier one nations we've already got in the Six Nations, even if it's an international league thing like they do in football, where England have just got relegated, but
Euro nations, is it? Or something?
the Nations League, that then at least adds some form of competitiveness because it as much as Georgia are performing, Portugal have qualified and teams like that, it must be pretty boring knowing must be pretty frustrating. So knowing there's 6 or 5 big nations just across the war, just within walking distance, effectively, and you're not playing them apart from in training games. So if you want to be international rugby player, you want to play against the biggest and the best. So I think there's definitely leg room there for a little bit of a development, which would be
I
fun.
do. I think it'd be really, really, really good for the sport in general,
Mm.
and spread the wealth. It's a bit of a piss take that the same 6 teams get all the money from the Six Nations every year. A big PE firm have come in and bought the rights for the Six Nations, and they need to be shaking it up and making it a profitable thing. So they might look to change the competition. But yeah, that's my 2 pence on that. I'm sure nothing will change, and it'll still be shit for the next 5 years. But
It will still be wang. It
yeah,
will still be wang. But it is an interesting one. We kind of I always think we're about 20, 30 years behind football, but there seems to be a little bit more engagement between the sport and the public who are watching. So maybe we'll get somewhere soon. Um, so before we move on, big question: who would you prefer to be the next England manager, coach, whatever they want to call it?
um, it's a tough one. So I like having national managers represent their country.
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned, but I think that's what we should be aiming for. Now, you've got Borthwick at Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Baxter at Exeter. And they're really the big noises, aren't they? They're probably the two English
Yeah.
people who would be drawn up. But then, like I say, you've got Bruno O'Gara being talked about. You've got
Gats.
Gat's been talked about. So I would have thought it'd be one of those four. I'd really like to see Baxter be given the chance.
I would. I think he probably fits. I think he probably a little bit. He's sorry, not a little bit. He's better suited for England now than Borthwick, probably. Not because I think he's any better than Borthwick, but Borthwick has still relatively new, and I don't think it's going to cost a lot of money to get him away from Tigers because of how much he wants to be involved there and whatever. On an outside, I know he's not been there very long, but I think Michael Checker has turned Argentina around quite a fair bit, and I think maybe he could be an outside bookie bet if need be.
I'm not sure he would leave Argentina at this point. I think he's got a bit more to do with Argentina leading up to a World Cup.
Of course.
I think he's quite a busy man because wasn't he running the Lebanon Rugby League's team as well?
Yeah, he's doing something. Is he short for cash? Do we need to do?
Should we do a GoFundMe?
Mike, do you want some cash, mate? Because we'll start it. We'll start you a GoFundMe page. But there are some big names, and I think actually all the names mentioned, probably apart from Gats, people know what Gats wants and Gats likes, but I think he is probably someone who can work to the playing force he has and kind of tweak there. But the Agaras, the Baxters, and the Borthwicks are all very exciting managers.
Gara would be great because he would just play absolute jouet.
Oh yeah,
but he's also Irish.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I prefer to have an Englishman.
I'm
not a massive fan of Ronan O'Gara as a human being. So
no, I always think he was just a bit, just outlived his stay.
Yeah.
So before we move on, final question: if you had to pick a coach from either Wales, Scotland, or Ireland for the England job, and you couldn't pick an Englishman, who would be your go-to? So I know you would like it to be an Englishman.
So if I had to pick an England coach and it couldn't be English, I would probably go Gatland.
You wouldn't give Gregor Townsend a little shot? No. Wouldn't at all? Is he just too Scottish?
No, I just don't think he's done a great... He's got a great Scotland squad there. He's not done a great job with him. I mean, they've beaten England, but fucking hell.
Yeah, fucking we could beat England in a minute. But yeah, no, fair. To be fair, his man management doesn't seem great. If you continue to throw with Finn Russell and that,
that's another thing as well. Like, you think Finn Russell's a handful? Fucking hell, there's some right prima donnas in that England team.
There are some right wankers. Midlands Rugby. Midlands Rugby podcast. We are not. We are not mainstream. We should talk about what the listeners want us to hear about, not just us two discussing shop. Right. We are at Regional 2.
We are.
Only 3 leagues.
Yeah. A league level that we know well.
We were there.
We were there for a long, long time. A long, long time. I think it was 14, 15 years. I think we were in that level.
Yeah.
Until a couple of years ago. So if we start in the West.
The bit we don't know much about. Hi, West Midlandsers. We'll graze over you again.
Again, if there's any West Midlands members of these clubs that want to come on and talk a bit more about this division, we would greatly appreciate that.
Yes, please.
I mean, old Halesonians were a big club a couple of years ago. It's where Joe Collingham from Paviers played for a while.
What a wanker.
But they've dropped from. They were in. I think they were in Nat 2 at one point.
Were they?
I might be wrong. They might have only been in
Impressive.
level 5, but I think I'm pretty sure they were in level 4 at one point. Walsall are a growing club. They've done well over the last few years. Wolverhampton's a strong club. So yeah, it'll be a competitive league, that one. Droitwich look like they're struggling a little bit, bless them. But
Evesham, obviously, a club that everyone knows as well, due to sad reasons,
yes,
but still, but there are some very well known and not well known. But if you know community rugby, there's a lot of names there you'll recognise, like you
yeah.
said, from previous years. I'd like Stratford upon Avon. I don't know why. It's one of my favourite places in England. I'm not even a fan of Shakespeare.
You go there quite a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I love it. I don't know why. Something about it. It's fucking mint. Not a great night out, to be fair. We go on tour to Stratford. We just read poems and shit.
That league looks real close. You've got 4 teams within a point of each other. It shows the importance of bonus points, that does, with Ludlow in 4th on 41 and Walsall on 41 and Malvern on 41. So 4th, 3rd, and 2nd are all on the same points.
Have you seen Walsall's point difference? 230, 248.
Yeah, they are not conceding, are they?
They are not conceding. That's ridiculous. I mean, Ludlow at 196. We spoke about Ludlow a few times on here, but they're two big efforts there.
Yeah, and then you look at old Hezonians who obviously scratching their way through games, but getting the job done. So,
but they've got six out of 11 try bonus points as well.
yeah,
So, like you said, makes all the difference. Score your tries, boys and girls.
yeah, yeah. Should we move on to the East Midlands, and then we'll do North Midlands last because that's the one we know about.
That's the we only dwell on the ones we know. Yes.
So East Midlands, there's a few teams in here that were in our league when we were in level 6. So you've got the 2 Northampton clubs at the top.
Saints. Oh no.
ONs and Old Scouts up at the top. That's good good for Old Scouts because they were struggling a few years ago. So they've obviously had a new influx of players. Lutterworth, who were real strong when we played against them, the year we got promoted. I think we lost to them twice actually that year.
They've done well.
They're a good strong team, and you know, another Leicestershire side that do well in that area. Market Harbour are bouncing back. They only got promoted a couple of years ago, if not last year, and coming back. Olney, I don't really know anything about. Peterborough doing well. You know, proper like town club. Toaster have come back into the league. New Bolton Avon have come back into that league. And not as strong as it used to be. Leighton Buzzard, one of the great bus trips back in that league as well. So I think it's safe to say that Peterborough Lions probably going to get relegated this year.
Yeah, they're not doing so well. They've gone from talking about teams with good defensive efforts. I'm not sure they bothered, if I'm honest.
Well, I think they had a home walkover against Kettering last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's getting to that point now for Peterborough Lions. They've been struggling for quite a while. We'll see what happens with that saga. Yeah. For those who don't know the story, they are owned by quite a wealthy man who basically tried to get them into the Premiership. They got as high as Nat 2.
Hi.
And it all went a bit Pete Tong, I think, from there.
Now it's low.
And now it's going into a bit of free fall by the looks of it.
It is. I think I played Toastesterians when they've come up to Nottingham on tour.
Toastesterians?
How do you say it?
Toastestrians.
Toastesterians. And if it was them, I met them in the Wetherspoons the night before. My mate went, "Oh, you play rugby, they play rugby." No, who did you play for? And they told me, Toastesterians. And and I went, and I was like, "Oh, I'm playing you tomorrow." They're like, "Do you want a beer?" I'm like, yeah. So they bought me about 10. I don't really remember turning up the next day. Half of them don't remember talking to me the night before. And then I've never played a game of rugby. where someone who is built like a worm is wearing just Speedos and you still get dicked by him by about 40 points. And they were all drunk on tour. You never lose to a touring team. That's rule one of rugby. And we were absolutely seen to by him. It was
Oh,
our third team, right? So you've got
sounds like good fun though.
it was good fun. It was good fun. There was a point that one of their lads kept scoring, and all the substitutes decided, well, that's it. I'm just going to go and get him. So he was kicked the shit out of by his own men. So that was good fun. If it wasn't that team, if it wasn't, I'd say it.
Toast. I know you got me doing that. Toast sessions.
Those Esterians. If it wasn't them, I don't know who it was. It must have just been Toaster. If it wasn't it, is there a Toaster? Anyway,
That's where it's from. Toaster.
yeah, but there's Toastarians, and is there just a toaster as well?
No.
All right, so it was them. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
dicked us while they were pissed. Great, makes my rugby career look absolutely amazing. Should we go to Regional 2 North Mids? We know a bit about that.
Oh, that's
Who else
brilliant.
has dicked us in this league? I'm never going to dip my bill on. There's a few teams in here that we definitely know about.
Yes.
How do you? I've generally not
League.
had that much to drink today.
It
How
says
do you
league.
say who's into shitty Hillians? Sahilians?
Silhillians, I think it is.
Who?
Silhillians.
Silly Hill. Anyway,
Sil
Leaker at the
Hill
top. Leaker's
Ians.
doing well.
I mean, even that though, if you look, three teams at the bottom on 19, there's not a great like separation in this league at all. To be fair,
No.
we played Long Eaton in pre-season. I thought they looked good.
Yeah.
They led the league for the first few weeks.
Oh, mate.
Obviously, just
Matty
fallen away a little
Everard's.
bit.
Matty Everard's team.
Matty Everard's team,
Thank
Sutton Coldfield, are a team I know relatively well. Kind of been in this level for a long time. Similar to Pavs previously. Oadby Wigs, sort of a bit of a yo-yo team. It's where Leicester Tigers train, so it's a lovely place to play at because the pitches are in unbelievable condition. Matlock, we know far too much about. It's a bad time of the year to go to Matlock, isn't it?
You don't want to get away. You don't want to be listed to go away to Matlock this time of year. My gosh.
It is colder.
It's like mod wrestling. That's all it is. I think it's a fetish of some people, but
Sheep wrestling.
sheep wrestling. Yeah, some of them. Yes, it is a bit sheepy around there. And Newark.
Newark, who obviously Mr. Corcoran is in charge of.
Another previous guest. This is what the Midlands Rugby Pod is about, mate.
This is it. We're bringing it all together here. Sadly, it just tends to be people from this league.
It's because and just within 30 miles of us because we don't know anyone else.
Leicester Forest. Yeah, I don't know much about Leicester Forest. I know they're kind of bouncing back a bit. It's where Paviour's girls used to link with Leicester Forest East.
That's where the link between Hannah Walker Smart or Hannah Walker.
Yeah, she was a Paviour all along.
Stupid. She was a Paviour all along, but that was and Franny Eggs or Franny Tees
And Scarrett,
and Skaz and
the other one.
the other really famous rugby player, which we look like knobheads for not remembering anymore. Come on, Phil, they were your mates.
Oh, they weren't. They didn't like me.
Understandable.
Yeah, definitely understandable. Belgrave are in there. Nuneaton Old Edwardians. Yeah, so that'll be a good fun league. Actually, not too much travelling.
It's a bit of an interesting league. That very. I mean, I've not played. I probably played 50%, maybe a little bit less than that in that league. But there is a range of rugby style in that league. You've got the Matlock of it's pissing wet. It's not going anywhere past 5. And that's just the game. But then you've got teams like Newark who can play expansive rugby. So obviously that's a definitely on the day. And it is still, like you said, it's still tight. There is only 4 points between first and fourth. Is this the league where there's how many go up from this league?
I don't know anymore.
So it's a bit weird with three because before when it was 1-on-1, it was easy to work it out, wasn't it? But
So I'm not sure how it works anymore because there's obviously three leagues feeding into one league,
yeah,
but only two go down out of our league apparently. So I'm not sure how that works.
well, it could be interesting. We could be down without knowing it.
Yeah,
I wonder if there's a playoff and then a playoff. Who knows?
who
Uh,
knows?
if you know, let us know, and we'll get you on the podcast because you probably know more about this league than we do. Um, so yeah, some good stuff going there. Like you said, but most of us are halfway through the season, apart from those who have had games rearranged. It looks like there's been a lot of points scored around the Midlands, so there should be some good rugby going. And I mean, I know the likes of Lincoln still tag us in stuff on Instagram. There's a lad from Kettering, Rugby Strong. I'm not taking the effort yet to work out what your real name is, but your content online is mint. He keeps posting try-lights and proppy stuff, which I love. So anyone
I think I know who that is.
oh, you do know?
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah,
I assumed you would because
yeah.
I don't think he'll be a fan of me. Definitely not anymore. So I just said I can't be bothered to work out what your name is. But some of these teams must be playing some good rugby, and it must be on a VO. So tag us in it if it's being uploaded anyway. If not, don't bother.
Maybe it's as good as our VO.
Is ours not working? It doesn't matter.
No, ours isn't working, Tom. No.
I mean, I've not played. It doesn't want to film anyone else but me. So that's Doddy Weir. Sad news, sad passing. Good to remember him. Eddie Jones not passing. Hopefully, we'll move on soon.
Passed.
Not,
Not that I want him to die. Soon, I want him to go away.
Not move on to the afterlife.
I don't want him to die.
No, he'll do a great job somewhere else at some point.
He can go fuck up like Namibia rugby or something like
that. No, not. We'll go somewhere like Italy, and Italy will beat us in the next Six Nations. And then Regional 2 Midlands Rugby's been sorted. So that means by default, it's Mids Prem next one.
Or Regional 1 Midlands, as it's now known.
Regional 1 Midlands, which is great because that will be 2 weeks before Christmas and the end of the first half of the season. Yeah. Oh, we banned it, Phil. Look, we're good at this.
Magic, mate.
Podcast host now.
Magic. We'll have someone on next time.
We will do. We were meant to get someone on, but you put an exclamation mark as opposed to a question mark.
Yes, there was some grammatical confusion in our conversation earlier, wasn't there?
And surprisingly, that normally comes from me. Anything spelling grammatically incorrect is me. So I was pretty sure you were contacting the guest, but it doesn't matter. I've been ghosted by them anyway. So hopefully we'll have someone next week. And we'll finish on Regional 1 Midlands before we go into the Christmas break. Still looking for guests for the new year, which would be good.
It'd be good to get some people on from other clubs, like anywhere in the Midlands. We're not picky. We just like to find out a bit more about other people's perceptions and how their club functions. That's not too boring.
No, and I think we're obviously we know what this part of Midlands looks like rugby wise most of the time. But it'd be good to actually understand a little bit about the West Midlands rugby. And even if you are someone who thinks your club will never feature on here, trust me, you will at some point because we'll have nothing else to talk about. But Phil, before I let you go, you've not prepared this, have you again? Have you got any wise words?
But trust your gut.
Trust your gut. Apart from if you're me, because we suspect have IBS, so never trust it. Always be careful.
Always be in the toilet, but trust your gut.
Don't trust it if you feel like it's going to be okay, because it's not. It's like a volcano. See you next week, Phil. By this time next week, England would have been in we would have beaten Senegal, and it's going to be coming home soon. So
can't wait for that.
Can't wait. Football is coming home. Rugby didn't this autumn. Bye.
Bye.